Hey y'all, it's Victoria. Welcome to my channel. I'm in my lab again. I feel like I've just spent so much time here. And I just want to give an update video. I mentioned a few times in different videos that I'm, in school again and trying to do something with my life. It's mid-semester. No, we're past the mid-mark. We're there's how many? I think it's a month left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have 4 weeks left. 4 weeks left. And it's that point where, for the next 4 weeks, you're gonna be grinding. There's a long list of things to do and everything needs to get done. And you're like, oh, how? That's when you start dressing more in your comfy clothes and you don't do makeup. Because who has time for that anymore? How am I gonna plan an outfit that doesn't even feel like a good use of my time? Unless I'm teaching, because if I walk in there looking like this with Dr. A, that would have a fit. When you're first year, at least in my program, we have to have a first year project. It doesn't have to be completed within your first year, but I mean, you gotta start making moves towards it, basically. So with mine, when I first got here, within a month, I had a plan. It's this is what I'm gonna do. My advisor was yeah, that's what we gonna do. And it was great. I was wow, I'm way ahead of schedule. Thank you, Lord. This is great. And that plan changed 5 times. And it started to get a little bit discouraging. I wanted to research music and see how that's related to math. It was just such a fuzzy piece of literature. It's just a lot. It was a lot to try to disentangle. And I realized I need to take a step back and really think about the theoretical aspects. So why is it related beyond just, oh yeah, music uses math, but not every musician uses math to do music. So what's happening in those processes? What are they doing? What are they calling upon? Oh, a lot to think about there. I'm hey, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to take that on. I don't have enough support from the literature to be able to do that. Then I was okay, bet, let's go to dance. Woo, super excited. Woo, this is gonna be work. I'm gonna start submitting my IRB and we're gonna be great. Boom, 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 boom. That flopped as well. I was a wreck. A reek because okay, so a little background for that one in case I do find. So I remember I stayed up 2 days in a row. I did not sleep for 2 nights in a row. Traveled one of those days to go to Tennessee, and while I'm in the airport, I'm doing my work. I was just grinding. I'm I'm gonna get this done. I was so excited. And got to Tennessee. Still didn't sleep. I'm okay, I need to get this done. I have a meeting right that same day, and I when I traveling from the East Coast into that Central Time, I lose an hour. So dang, I lost an hour, but it's fine. So I'm I feel I have my mad scientist mode on. I have my coffee. I'm just going at it. Yeah, this is gonna be great. And then I call my advisor and we go through our meeting, and she's asking me all these questions, and I'm ooh, I don't have the answer for that. I don't have the answer for that. Oh, this was a failed study, and that's a failed study. So why do I think mine isn't gonna be a failed study? And all just crumbled. So that was a hard one, and the lack of sleep, and I wasn't eating at that time because also who has time for that? We'll talk about self-care maybe in another video. So at this point, I actually do have a study, and I spent most of this week trying to look to make sure that what happened last time does not happen again. Thankfully that's not the case. So right now I am in the process of really developing the logistics for that. So where am I going to run it? What's my protocol gonna be? My script, all that stuff. So it's pretty exciting. It feels like project management, you're planning for an event. So that's really cool. I'm excited about that, but it takes a lot of time. And then another project that I'm working on and having to like submit the IRB so I don't get in trouble with the law. But yeah, so like that's another project that you have to work on. And then you have your regular like lab duties, and you're still taking classes, and you're still teaching. You still have homework assignments, you have things to grade. That's grad school. Undergrad, I felt like I worked pretty hard, and there was a lot of like times where you had to grind. It was more like I have a test coming up, so I'm gonna stay up one night to cram it all in and make sure that I'm prepared for that exam. And then that's over, and then you like go about your life, you get to like do whatever, and then the next exam rolls around and you just like, oh, I gotta study. And you, but here, it's like every time you feel like you cross one huddle, my mind, you get over one hump, and you're like, oh, like you're like up climbing, and you're like, oh, it's gonna like go down now, and you make a like a little bit, and then it's like, oh, climb again, and like, and then climb again. So it's cool in the sense like I don't feel like I'm studying, cramming for exams. I'm not, you know, having to spend a lot of time studying, but I am having to spend a lot more time reading articles. I thought that was a joke when they're like, oh, you gotta read a ton, because I mean, like in undergrad they said you had to read a ton, but like who really read the textbooks? Here they don't even give us textbooks, which is really cool, but they give us journal articles, and sometimes a lot, but it's interesting stuff. So at least like you're enjoying it a little bit more because it's directed towards your interest areas, or else you wouldn't be in the program. There are like little assignments, like we have to like write reaction papers. It doesn't take a whole lot, but it's just another thing to do, right? And then on top, like trying not to make school your whole life, right? And finding that work-life balance can be difficult during these like crunch times. So you know, I probably leave my lab at like 10 p.m. and get onto the campus around 9, but I'm up at 5:30 or 6:30 starting to like do work, right? So it's long days. When you finish, you don't necessarily want to go and hang out or be on the phone. The weekends, I mean, I'm not an introvert, but I need recharging time sometimes. So on the weekends, like sometimes I just want to like stay home and not do anything, but then I also know I need to build a community, right? So finding those balances can become like a little challenging, making sure you have time to cook, meal prep, so you're not spending all the monies because you're on a stipend. If you looked, it's my neck. But all in all, it's pretty cool. It's cool that we get to be pioneers to some regard, or continuing on a legacy of research. It's cool in that regard. You always have to like keep the bigger picture in mind, because when you're like in it, sometimes it can get hard to see why am I doing this, because a lot of times like to get to that bigger picture there's so many in-between steps, and those steps can be less attractive than others, but still necessary, right? My boyfriend gave me a mug that says celebrate the small victories, and when I say like I look at that, I like open my, I'm like yes, celebrate the small victories. I need to celebrate the small victories, because like there's so many small ones, and you may not feel like you're getting to that big one. You don't get that huge thrill. But it's like, oh, I understood a concept just a little bit more. I'm like just that much closer to developing my own theory of learning, like that much closer to being able to help the next generation. The small things, and having to keep that into account. The professor that I work under, she's so awesome. She's like really been helpful and like a great like support, but she advised that I journal, right? Like each week, okay, what did I actually accomplish? So that keeps like, again, those reminders of like, oh hey, I'm actually doing things, I'm actually progressing. It's not just all busy work, it's not all in vain. We were making a joke where it's like, yeah, you can there's one day I put in 8 hours trying to just do one thing, and that was my lit search. And that was the night that I came late. I left here like at 10 p.m. or whatever. So I walk into the class and I tell Dr. A, which is the professor I work under, I'm like, she's like, how are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just tired. You know, left lab at 10. And she's like, girl. I was like, yeah. And she's like, was it productive? I was like, theoretically, sure. But I don't really have much to show for it. She's like, yeah, me yesterday. So it was good to know, like, it's not just me. Like, she's one of the best in the field. And I'm not being dramatic. She literally is. Dr. Patricia Alexander, you can look her up. And even she was like, within this field, like, it feels like there's sometimes where you can put in so many hours and you're doing a lot, but there's not a whole lot to show for that. And you just have to like know within yourself, like, yes, that was productive. And again, another reason why I use a tracker. So I like clock in and clock out, like, okay, research hours, class hours, GTA ship hours, so that even, so, cause like it doesn't work anymore to look at my agenda. And here, let me just show you. So it's not a whole lot of tasks on here, right? And sometimes you can look at this and you're like, oh, I don't really have a lot to do. Like, this is fine. And then when, okay, so this is from yesterday. So I'm recording this on Thursday. So this is from yesterday. As you can see, there are things that are not crossed off on my list. In that, if before, when I would look at that, I would be like, dang, I was not productive. Like, what was I doing? What was I doing? I'm tired. I feel like I've been putting in hours, but like, wow, there's nothing there. So instead, now I track my hours and I can look back and like, okay, well, you did put in, I don't know how much time, like maybe 8 hours. You got something done. Maybe it took longer than you anticipated. Let's recheck. Why did it take longer? Was it a lot to do? Were you tired? Is it more beneficial for you to sleep in tomorrow instead of waking up early so that when you are working, you're all in. So little things like that helps me to keep myself in check and balanced and to get a little bit less overwhelmed. Yeah, so I just want to give you guys a mid-semester update. I'm good. Life is good. Just a little stressed. A little bit busier than anticipated. I don't think I've felt this busy before. I like woke up this morning and I'm just like, I know there's so much to get done, but I can't move. But yeah, I hope this was, if you're considering grad school, hopefully this gives you like a better idea. It's not always like this, and I would recommend like make sure your schedule allows for these like breaks and spaces in time where you can have those, a little bit of that dip, or create that space for yourself if you need to. Set boundaries where you know, like when I first came here, I told everyone, like, I do not work on Saturdays. Like, I don't work on Saturdays, it's my Sabbath. And now that it's kind of crunch time, I do no more than 5 hours on a Saturday, but I still work on Saturday, but it's not something that's expected of me. So that's extra, like the leftover work, I'll do that. But on any other Saturday, I'm not expected to work. So even when it is busy or it's less busy, I still know that I have space to myself, and that it's something that I have been I was intentional in creating, and that other people respect. So I really love that. And Sunday mornings, I know, don't message me until 1 p.m. That's when I'll start. And it's not in a rude, it's not in an arrogant, cocky way. It's simply just informed, like, okay, I won't be available until this time. Every week. And it's really worked. So yeah, if you're considering grad school, I hope this gave you a little snippet of what it is like emotionally, maybe, what the demands are, tasks that you may have to involve, and just starting to think about like how you want to manage your time. Yeah, I would say don't plan a big trip. There's nothing else you take away from this. Don't plan a big trip in the like last month, maybe. Just an idea. But yeah, anyway, I gotta go to work. I'm rambling at this point, so I'll see you guys next time. Like, comment, subscribe, the whole 9. I appreciate you watching. Bye.